Welcome to Getting Your Dream Smile with Cosmetic Dentistry. This is where we discuss and help patients get what they want in a smile while being totally informed. Whether it is porcelain veneers, bonding, whitening, or Invisalign, you'll find out what is best for your situation. Everything you should know, where and who to see, and all the costs involved. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Getting Your Dream Smile with Cosmetic Dentistry. My name is Sabrina, your co-host for today. I'm currently a pre-dental student at UCSD, and I work with Dr. Eshom to inform the public about the best way to achieve your best smile with cosmetic dentistry. Our podcast discusses the benefits and what you need to know about cosmetic dentistry. Today, we'll be talking with Dr. David Eshom, who has been practicing cosmetic dentistry for 25 years as a credentialed cosmetic dentist from the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry and specializing in minimally invasive cosmetic dentistry. Dr. Eshom loves sharing his recommendations when it comes to getting a great smile, and today we'll be talking about how much tooth structure is destroyed when you get porcelain veneers. Let me introduce to you Dr. David Eshom.
Thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate the introduction, and I'm very excited about today's topic because I think it's a very important topic to all the patients out there that are thinking of having cosmetic dentistry done. And most of the time when you are looking to do cosmetic dentistry, one of the suggestions the cosmetic dentist is going to talk to you about is porcelain veneers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of what I would say a dirty little secret with cosmetic dentistry is that one of the things you don't talk about with patients is how much tooth structure is going to be removed.
Yeah.
And so here in our office, we like our patients to be totally informed in terms of the benefits and problems with certain ways of doing treatment. And so we go over the pros and cons of each treatment, not only in terms of like how much it's going to cost, but how much it's going to cost you in tooth structure, because the cost of tooth structure is very, very important. And that's why I think you and I picked this as our topic for our podcast today. So we're going to go over that dirty little secret about how much tooth structure is being removed. But the audience may or may not know, what happens when you get a porcelain veneer. So I actually have some pictures of teeth after they've been prepared for porcelain veneers. And so let me share the screen with our viewing audience and describe what is on the screen to our listening audience. Mm-hmm. So I recently posted in my Instagram what is involved with the amount of tooth structure when you get porcelain veneers, because a lot of times you see the teeth before and then you see the teeth after, and that just looks like this wonderful dramatic, and it is dramatic, makeover. But you don't know what happens in between. And so when a patient comes in, they're numbed, we tell them there's going to be some noise and vibration and so forth. But in our office, we give them an idea what tooth structure will be removed. But at a lot of dental offices, they don't show you that, nor do they want you to know that. Mm-hmm. And so on the screen here, we have a picture of some teeth that are relatively nice teeth, except it looked like the patient had worn their teeth quite a bit. They were grinding side to side. And so the teeth were shorter. And so this person obviously went to this dentist, and these are just little pictures taken from Instagram of other dentists' work. And then, so I can understand why they wanted to lengthen the teeth, why they possibly wanted to whiten the teeth, because they wanted to get that younger look. And then this dentist, I think, was very smart, and it's something that I do when I'm preparing my patients for porcelain veneers, is I place little grooves. And so in the second picture, it shows the teeth with these little grooves that we call depth cuts. And so that tells us how much tooth structure we're removing, so that we don't take more than what we need, but we take enough for what we need. And so that's a smart way of doing things, but a lot of dentists don't do that. And then the third picture down shows how much tooth structure was actually removed. And those depth cuts were connected and the outer part and the edge of the tooth was reduced. And so that's the part that is gone and will never be back. And we've actually done studies in my office, and there's been studies by other research people that show that about 40 to 50% of your tooth is reduced for porcelain veneers. So think about that. Half of your tooth is gone so that you can get porcelain veneers. And so that's a lot. And then the last picture down there at the bottom is the beautiful porcelain veneers, which are gorgeous. And this dentist did an amazing job along with his lab tech. But when you think about this whole process, what's left out is how much tooth structure is going to be gone, that you'll never get back, that is priceless, that is part of your body, that the person should be informed of before you go ahead and do this procedure. And so I'm advocating, when you're thinking about cosmetic dentistry and you're talking to a cosmetic dentist, to ask them, how much tooth structure are you going to need to take away for me to get porcelain veneers? And that you be informed in that. And you make the decision, okay, I will do this for the benefit of the smile. At least that. So does that leave you with any questions? Or Sabrina, do you want to chime in on this?
No, yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up, because, you know, your teeth structure, they're never going to grow back. So once you grind them down, it really is permanent. And it's super important that you take the precautions to looking into a cosmetic dentist that might potentially give you other options. So I was wondering if there are other options that people can go through to avoid grinding down all their teeth, almost to like 50% of their teeth.
Yeah, no, and that's the other thing I want the audience to know today, is that there are other options, and that you don't necessarily have to grind your teeth down, and that if you're involved in the decision and deciding whether to or not to, you know, then at least you've made an informed decision. And so let's go over that a little bit too, Sabrina.
Okay.
So, you know, here's another picture of what it's like to have your teeth prepared for porcelain veneers. And again, for our listening audience, at the bottom of this picture is the before, is the teeth before they're prepared. And again, they're a little worn and chipped, and maybe the color wasn't consistent on them. But this person decided to do porcelain veneers, and the actual end result is gorgeous. They look beautiful. But when you look at the picture in between, you see that 8 or 10 of the teeth have been prepared for porcelain veneers. So they've had anywhere from 35 to 50% of their tooth structure removed. And then right in the middle, one of their front teeth was dark. It probably had a root canal. And that tooth actually had a crown. So that tooth was prepared for a crown. And if you rubbed your tongue over these and felt them, that would kind of really scare you. And then we worry about when patients are, you know, when we're going through the procedure and they want to go to the bathroom, we let them go to the bathroom, but we always tell them, well, are you going to look at your teeth or not? And they say, no, we're not going to look at our teeth. And I go, well, if you change your mind and look at them, remember I went over how that your teeth, that there's going to be some tooth structure removed, and that I measure it very, very carefully and only take what I need. But what you're going to see and feel is like your teeth are nubs.
Yeah.
And so these teeth in the middle picture of what I'm showing now for our viewing audience are the preparation. And there is 40 to 50% of them gone. And then on that one crown tooth, it's probably in the 60 to 65% amount of tooth structure being removed, because the tooth structure isn't just removed on the outside and in between, it's removed on the tongue side too, in order for it to be a crown. So please, all of our patients, I want them to be aware of that. So let me give you an example of what can be done without grinding on your teeth. And so in this picture for our viewing audience, we see people much like the same first two cases I showed you, with teeth that are stained, teeth that are worn, teeth that are misaligned, just like any bad smile, you think, oh, well, I want to have a better smile, so I'm going to go get porcelain veneers. Well, when patients come to our office, we give them a variety of options from minimally invasive to all the way to porcelain veneers. And so in this case, we gave this young lady an option because she was going to a wedding, and we had talked to her months before, but she decided not to do anything. But she was going to a wedding soon, and so she wanted to have a nice smile. And so instead of taking tooth structure away, we cleaned up the stains, and then we just added nice white, bright tooth structure. So on the top picture are her teeth. And instead of having a middle picture like I showed you before where the teeth are prepared, there was no preparation of her teeth. So that means there is no destruction of their teeth. There is no grinding on her teeth. And then we warm injection molded a product called BioClear U veneers over her teeth to make them aligned, to make them wider, and to make them brighter and wider for her smile. And so this is an example, Sabrina, you're asking, of an alternative method to get a great smile that looks like veneers, but doesn't require grinding your teeth.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
I think that's an amazing option that, instead of having to grind your teeth down to a nub and never getting your tooth structure back, you know that you're simply adding on to your tooth structure with the warm injection molding. So my question is, let's say people have the option of porcelain veneers or BioClear. What would be the pros and cons that you give them based on like pros and cons of porcelain veneers or pros and cons of BioClear?
Let's go over that a little bit. So, when patients come into our office, and whenever you go to a cosmetic dentist, one of the things you can ask them is like, okay, so doctor, you presented these porcelain veneers. Is there anything else that I can do if I didn't want to have my tooth ground on? So that would be a great patient question, and a great thing for a patient to ask is, what other alternatives do I have? And there should be at least two. And then also, how much tooth structure? So that's one of the things we went over today is to ask how much tooth structures needs to be removed in order for me to have these porcelain veneers. So here in our office, we give them other options, and that other options you heard of already is BioClear U veneer. And so I give them the pros and cons of BioClear U veneer versus porcelain veneers. And my little speech kind of goes like this, and I'll give it to you, Sabrina, today.
Great.
And we went over this with Sabrina, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we did.
Porcelain veneers are the best and most beautiful restoration that we have in cosmetic dentistry. So they're the gold standard of cosmetic dentistry. And that's kind of what you see out there on the internet and Instagram and all that are porcelain veneers.
Yeah.
But what you don't see, and what the cons are of porcelain veneers, is the amount of tooth structure you need to take away that is gone forever. And that each time you get new porcelain veneers, which porcelain veneers last 10 to 20 years, there's probably going to be more tooth structure taken away, taking the porcelain veneer off and putting either a new porcelain veneer, or maybe if there's not enough tooth structure, having to convert that porcelain veneer into a crown, which goes all the way around your teeth.
Yeah.
And so you lose that tooth structure each time you change them. And since it lasts 10 to 20 years, you might have to have them changed 2 or 3 times in your lifetime, depending on how old you are when you originally get them. So my practice philosophy is minimally invasive. So I don't want to take any tooth structure away if I don't have to. And so that's where BioClear U veneer comes in, and where we warm injection mold tooth colored material around your tooth that is whiter, and we can shape appropriately. So if you have worn teeth or you have triangles, these dark triangles showing in between your teeth, or the edges are broken or worn, we can restore them by just adding onto your teeth. So that's why we offer those two things.
Mhm.
But what really comes down to is how particular you are about your smile. And so I know a lot of people are particular and they about their smile, or else they wouldn't be coming to me or any other cosmetic dentist. And so in my office, I show them a picture of porcelain veneers, and then I show them a picture of BioClear.
Mhm.
And when you look at those two from a social distance, and I mean not 6 feet like we're talking about nowadays, but I mean like 2 or 3 feet when you're talking to somebody normally, you can't really tell a BioClear U veneer from a porcelain veneer. They're indistinguishable.
Mhm.
But when you go home and you look in the mirror, and you might have that mirror that turns around and has the 5 times magnification on the other side, and you have all the light in your bathroom that you put your makeup on with, and you look real close, you'll be able to see some things that are different. In the porcelain veneer, because we can bake in colors and we can bake in translucency, and then we have them in our hand in the laboratory so we can shape them very meticulously,
Mhm.
they look better under magnification than do the BioClear U veneers.
I see.
But the only way you can see it is under magnification or staring at them. Nobody from a personal distance or that knows you will be able to see that difference. So that's when I tell patients, well, if it's going to bother you in your head that you don't have that, and when you look in the mirror, you're going to remember that you don't have that, then maybe you should get the porcelain veneers because you are particular, and the only one that can see it and the only one that cares is you. And so you should get what you want. And so that's what usually distinguishes what between a BioClear U veneer and a porcelain veneer. The only other instance where porcelain veneers are needed and BioClear U veneers can't be used is when the patient wants their teeth really, really, really white. So if they have really dark teeth
Mhm.
and we want to do BioClear U veneer over them, we can lighten them up significantly,
Mhm.
but we can't get them, that piano key white like we could with porcelain veneers, because porcelain veneers have a way that we can block that dark color under the tooth and still have a white color on the end. So those are the two instances. One when you want really, really white teeth, and one when you're really particular about how your teeth look to yourself when you're looking in the mirror at home. So does that answer your question, Sabrina?
Yeah, that answers my question perfectly. And let's say, like, you know what, I am not particular about it. I just want nice teeth, and I think, BioClear will be the great way to go. What certain cases can be fixed with BioClear and minimally invasive cosmetic dentistry?
Well, most cases can be fixed with BioClear in a minimally invasive way, because BioClear we can add to teeth, because most of the time why somebody's smile doesn't look good is because they've worn the edges off, or they've chipped them, or their gums have receded and there's triangles between their teeth. So BioClear can do that. BioClear can add even on the tongue side of teeth to cover areas that have been worn on the tongue side. But you have to look at the overall bite and make sure that that's all compatible with whatever material you add. And then the same goes for porcelain veneers. It can do the same thing. The other pros and cons that I didn't go over is that porcelain veneers, again, being the gold standard of cosmetic dentistry, they have to go to a lab. You need 2 appointments to put them on with, cost more and cost the most of cosmetic dentistry. And then BioClear, since you do it in one day and it's done without a lab, it costs less. So it's about 1/3 less than a porcelain veneer. But you just want to make sure that the dentist you go to knows how to do the shaping and has the artistic talent to make the BioClear U veneer look just like a porcelain veneer.
Got it. And how would you know, let's say, that a certain cosmetic dentist would know how to shape it into like a perfect tooth?
Again, when you're choosing your cosmetic dentist, you want to look at the cases that they've done. So you want to look at the people that they've helped and the smiles that they've made. And in their website, they should have picture before and after pictures of their smiles that tell you what material they used and whether they're using BioClear or U-veneer, and then see what their U-veneer cases look like. And then you would know. But in all honesty, there's not a lot of people that are trained with BioClear because number one, it's a newer material. And number two, you need to have the talent to shape the teeth. And most average general dentists don't want to shape teeth because they haven't done it since dental school, and they're used to grinding on patients' teeth and sending it to the lab where the lab does all the shaping of the teeth. And so doing it in somebody's mouth takes time and talent. And at least in my office, I've dedicated myself to that. Or if a patient is looking for somebody to do BioClear for them and they're not in the San Diego area, you can look on the BioClear website and it'll give you a listing of the different doctors that have been trained in BioClear. And I hope to have on this broadcast some other doctors that do BioClear, and maybe next podcast or the podcast after that, I hope to have another doctor that will talk about it, and you won't have to just hear it from me.
That would be great. But I think, it's always important to keep in mind what you're going into when, you're dealing with your teeth and fixing your smile, because at the end of the day, your teeth cannot grow back and you want to keep that structure, or make sure that, you're choosing the right option for you and that there are multiple options available to get the best smile.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Sabrina. So right now I shared the screen for the people that are viewing, and will describe for the people that are listening, is I'm showing a BioClear U-veneer case before, we see the teeth. And then in the middle, we show how much tooth structure was prepped for porcelain veneers. And then we show the teeth again in the middle for the BioClear U-veneer because there was no tooth structure prepared. It's the person's own teeth. And then we show the result of both cases at the end. And so for those that are listening and want to see this on YouTube, you can look up our YouTube channel. It's listed in our info. But at that point, you can kind of see a little difference between the porcelain veneers, because this is under magnification, and the BioClear. But again, from a social distance or someone talking to you distance, you will not see a difference. So I wanted to make sure the audience got to see that who is viewing today too.
I want to let the audience know that when I'm looking at these pictures right now and I really cannot see very much of a difference. However, with the pictures showing the preps, you can really tell how much tooth structure you're losing and just how significant of, destruction that your teeth goes through before you get those porcelain veneers. But they really do. The after pictures look very, very similar, and it's very hard to tell what is what.
Oh, good. Thanks for describing that. And then the last thing I want to show is my little chart, Sabrina, of the pros and cons of BioClear U veneers and porcelain veneers. And I think I'll go over this more in our next podcast because we're about at time. But if you look on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the pros and cons of U veneers and porcelain veneers. And then if you listen to our next podcast, we'll go over that a bit then too.
Sounds good. This looks like a really good chart. So I'd be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Dr. Eshom, do you have any last words you want to tell the audience about their porcelain veneers?
I just want to summarize for them and to go into whatever cosmetic dentistry you're looking for with an informed mind. And don't be afraid to ask questions to see the doctor's cases. Don't be afraid to ask how much tooth structure is going to need to be removed. And don't be afraid to ask if there's an alternative to the tooth structure removal option, meaning porcelain veneers. And if you get that and you make your decision and you trust the doctor, then you've done everything you can and you've gone into this with your eyes wide open. So that's the only thing I have to add.
Yeah, well, sounds good. I think This is great advice for patients to keep in mind when they are looking for a cosmetic dentist to change their smile and get their dream smile. We hope this was super informative for all of you patients out there, and we can't wait to talk a bit more about cosmetic dentistry and the more options that you have with changing your smile. Other than that, make sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions, whether it be about your own smile or any topics that you want us to cover. So be sure to fill out the form in the info or on YouTube, scan the QR code. Other than that, thank you so much for listening and have a great evening.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. And thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Your Dream Smile with Cosmetic Dentistry with Dr. David Eshom. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast to be notified about future episodes. Click the link in the description to fill out a form if you have any questions on cosmetic dentistry or your smile that you want us to answer. See you next episode.